On the night before Christmas, Captain Arthur O'Sullivan of the British Army's Royal Irish Rifles was stationed in Rue de Bois, France. He heard a German accent float from across the barracks. It said, "Do not shoot after 12 o'clock, and we will not do so either. If you English come out and talk to us, we won't fire." One Irish rifleman ventured out of his trench to test the invitation. After arriving back safely with a German cigar as a gift, others made their way into the still battlefield. No Man's Land was filled with soldiers, meeting each other halfway. And so began the unofficial Christmas Truce of 1914. Along the lines of France and Belgium, soldiers began hearing carols in the distance. German troops sang in German, Silent Night, Holy Night, and the Allied troops chimed in, singing in alternating languages. Cautiously, more soldiers began to emerge. Germans held up lanterns and called to the British, assuring them in broken English that they wouldn't shoot. Instead, they wished them a Merry Christmas. Men from both sides emerged, shook hands, and shared cigarettes and food. Some, despite great debate over the event, even say that a soccer game broke out. Historian Alan Wakefield said, "If it happened, and there are very few collaborative accounts, there's second and third-hand accounts of somebody hearing of a game going on somewhere." However, if you keep score, those who heard about it happening said the game ended 3-2 for the Germans. The Christmas truce also provided at the time for the armies to collect their deceased soldiers from the fields. This gesture meant a lot in terms of respect for the dead for both sides. Many generals and senior officers were not on board with this overall show of goodwill. In some areas, peace lasted until the first few days of 1915 without many shots fired. The military made it clear that this was not acceptable wartime behavior. Another holiday truce of this kind was really never recorded. The fighting did still occur on Christmas in some areas. Corporal Clifford Lane of H Company, Hertfordshire Regiment, explains that upon seeing the Germans emerge from the trenches with lanterns, he was ordered to open fire. The German did not reply to our fire and carried on with the celebrations. Corporal Lane remembered, "They ignored us and were having a very fine time, and we continued in our wet trenches trying to make the most of it." He later regretted not engaging in the truce with the Germans. He said, quote, "It would have been a good experience, but back in 1914 things magically aligned to allow for some holiday spirit." The soldiers involved in that great war were either green newcomers or weathered veterans. They'd expected the fighting to be short and done by Christmas. The war wasn't too dirty. The propaganda machine hadn't churned up the seething hatred against both sides. The truce is attributed to the last of the romanticized gentlemanly soldiers of the era. These men confronted their enemies face to face. Military strategies may have certainly changed, but it's comforting to know that one frosty Christmas morning, adversaries laid down their arms, that they extended hands in a gesture of peace, however temporary it may be. In the name of humanity and goodwill, the History Buff wishes you happy holidays. I hope for peace and offer a challenge to you, my friend, to get out of your trench and do something kind for a stranger. Now you know your history.